Let me ask you this. They're looking for a new director.
Yeah.
The director of Blade 2, a Hispanic guy. What's his name? Something like Del Toro or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. The who directed the second one.
Yeah, the second. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you think he could come back and do this? You think he could come back and start the new life? You think any of the directors, including the one from three, do you think any of the directors from the original? Because I believe they used a unique director for each one, didn't they?
Yeah, and the third one was the actual. He was the one of the writers. He directed it. It was one of his first, maybe his second movie or first or second movies that he wrote. But he's a writer, and he wrote the story for the Blade movies. He wrote stuff for like Dark Knight and all that. He's one of those writers that kind of have all these crazy ideas, but you have to have another writer or a good director to kind of restrain the ideas. So it's like good stuff in there, but it's just almost too much. And it's funny because of that third movie, all the stuff that he was pitching to the first two directors that they were saying no, they don't want to have it in there, and it's putting it to the side. He jammed all that crap into the third movie. And because I follow movies and behind the scenes stuff, I remember in the other movies when they were talking about the ideas that was on the cutting room floor that they kind of toyed around with and stuff. And so to my surprise, when I saw that third one, where the writer was also the director, and I saw I was like, I remember those concept art for that. I remember the directors not putting that stuff in there, or Wesley being like, we don't want that in there. And he put it all in there. And that
Yes. So let's eliminate him. Just asking, do you think Del Toro could come in and say and do something with this new Blade?
I think he already did his thing. I don't know if he would have anything else to say with it. I think that he did what James Cameron did for the Alien franchise. He got the grunts in there and got the team up and, made a little slicker, a little edgier and stuff like that. And so to me, he did that. So that was that version of Blade.
Yeah. He did Hellboy too, didn't he?
Yeah, and Pan's Labyrinth and all that kind of stuff.
Dude, let me tell you, Hellboy, one of my favorite movies. Hellboy 1 and 2, both of them.
Two is brilliant.
2 is, yeah.
Brilliant.
Like,
yes.
But definitely Hellboy 2, but
yeah.
I wasn't mad at he did I'm looking at his pad, I just pulled him up. He did Shape of Water and Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Pacific Rim wasn't bad. But Shape of Water, it won awards.
Yeah, it did. And like I said, for him, I don't think he would have anything else to say with, not that he's not a good director, but like I said, I think that there's probably newer directors now that could benefit from.
Give me a name. Who do you want to see take on this legacy?
Spike Lee.
Come on, man. You just said there's new directors and then you said Spike Lee.
But okay, Shaka King. He's cool.
Okay. What about Shaka? Okay. What about the brother who did what's his name? Antoine
Fuqua?
Yeah.
Yep, I would think he would be pretty good too. And he's not a new director. He's not
new,
either. But new blood, and so I think he would do good. Yeah, so Shaka King would be cool. I don't know. It's very interesting. It would probably be somebody that we really don't know, or probably just directed a good episode of a TV show we liked, or a TV series that we liked. There's so many out there.
Why not bring back the guy who directed Sticky Fingers for that one season back in 2006?
I don't think it was just the acting that was kind of bad. I think the whole thing. The whole thing was just kind of rough, Do
you think we would end up with another Blade 3 situation if they allowed Mahershala to take on the role of writer and director and star?
I don't know his capabilities. I know that he have good intentions, but then, sometimes that doesn't work out. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Ryan Coogler would be great at the Blade movie, but he got so much other stuff he's doing.
Yeah.
But he would be dope at that. I love his style. I like how he sees stuff. I like how he grounds stuff. So I think that he would at least have a good script, even if he couldn't direct it.
What about the director? What's her name? Jesus. She did Love and Basketball. She just did The Woman King. I think that my whole thing with what I would love to see is an African American director, specifically an African American director, who, whether they've gotten their chance or not, but I would love to see them get their foot in the door as far as doing something that is totally different than the Black Panther vibe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want something that's going to gather a bunch of Black people into the movie theater to unite behind this person's project. I would like to see this person. We know that this person's Black, but our love for the craft and the work that they did is synonymous almost. It's almost as though it's like it supersedes their race. And Blade is not a Black character to me. Here's the weird thing. I know he is, don't get me wrong. And especially when they started to write him in some of the books, and when they start putting Blade, doing guest features, like Blade was in that 2017 run of the Falcon. Mm-hmm. And him and the Falcon did it was like 3 episodes, or 3 issues, I should say. And Blade's Black, like it's a Black issue with Blade, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's got some stuff where he's does some stuff with Black Panther. He's a part of the Luke Cage, some of the Luke Cage comics. So they've written him into this role. But when I watch those movies, if they were to come back and say Blade is white, which they would never do in a million years, Blade works as a white character to me. Like, I don't see Blade as being specifically Black. I've read him in a way where I was like, okay, they made him Black, but they made him Black by giving him a voice in social justice issues, right?
Right.
And that's what made him Black. So it was tropey Black. It wasn't even like the character in itself. Was Marv Wolfman, I think. It was the. Yeah. He couldn't create he just created a vampire that just so happens to be Black.
Right.
Grateful for.
Right.
But yeah,
it's hard not to put extra stuff in it. And like I said, because sometimes even if you're Black, you could fall into the same tropes as a white person would, because we all kind of digest the same stuff, we're fed the same way, and we fall into the same stereotypes and things as well. I'll say this, even on the first Blade movie, I don't think that Wesley necessarily played as a Black guy. I think that the thing with him and his character was the fact that he was a half-blood. They were mad because he wasn't a pure blood.
Yeah.
And so they had issues with that. That kind of took the spot of the race thing with him, which I thought was kind of interesting. Because really, the only time you really thought of Wesley really being a Black guy, and it was acknowledged that him being a Black guy, is when the cops just started shooting on him. And he's like, "Man, Brother F, are you crazy?" So times like that, his Blackness got brought up because of how people treated him. But it wasn't like a thing that was just like he's walking around and all the other vampires didn't care for him because he's a Black vampire, So I felt he was just, on the outskirts of things, just because of the fact that, he was almost a better version of a vampire, and it was like jealousy and contempt for him because of that. Like you say, he had all their strengths and none of their weaknesses. He is what they wanted to be, a vampire that could feed in the middle of the day if he wanted.
Yeah, I think it's one of the stronger characters. Even though he wasn't written or given the opportunity, I think it is one of the stronger characters. And that goes to show, just based off the factor that there wasn't a strong line of books featuring him.
Yeah.
For them to even give it a movie. And I think that was Marvel's way of also saying, Marvel's parent companies at the time, basically saying, we really don't believe in you, so like, we can't give you any of these things that we can sell.
Right.
So you can make your little movie, but you can't make it based off of anything that would actually cost us money, because like, basically they were out pimping out all of their characters. Yeah. And they were like, we're going to keep selling. And so Blade was kind of one of the perfect characters at that time. I think I'm glad they didn't pull the trigger on doing a Black Panther or any of those other titles that didn't get sold off at the time. It would have been horrible.
I wouldn't have minded Wesley doing the Black Panther, but like I said, those characters were throwaway characters back then, and something like Blade, most people didn't even know it was a Marvel character. They saw the Marvel information like on the credits, and it was like, it's based off a comic book. That's before people even knew how that tied in. Like, they were actually making comic book IPs into movies, and so he really didn't have any eyes looking on it. And then, like I said, it was a clean slate, so it was whatever he made it to be. And he did just such a good job that became the standard for that character, where the character even changed in the comic books due to how he played that character.
But when an IP already exists that is written in a very, I don't want to say the word generic to insinuate that a white gaze is generic, but they took something that was written very neutral, where Blake said Blade could have been white. Mm-hmm. And they threw Wesley's, and I'm not saying this as a skin tone thing, they threw Wesley's blackness on it.
Yeah.
And now we know Blade has to be black. There is no going back. There is no playing with it one way or another.
Right.
And I can't see this ever being reversed in the comics. This ain't like Samuel Jackson being,
Nick Fury.
Yeah, like this isn't we're not gonna do a reverse Nick Fury ever with Blade. Blade will forever be what he is. And so whatever they choose to do with this, I'm gonna show up. Mm-hmm. And whether they were using a young Asian cat for the director, before the gentleman who just quit. So I don't care who they use. Yeah. I'm always down for you using a black woman. Yeah. Please, if she fits, what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, if she can do it, throw a Regina King in there. I don't care. That's
a good idea too. I just want somebody who respects the IP or have a good angle to it. There's something. It's kind of like, you want people who to cook to love what they're cooking. Not that they gotta like everything, but you know what I mean. But somebody who respects it. I know it doesn't guarantee anything, but something about loving what you do make you go that extra step. Even if you really love it, even if you think you got it down pat, you're gonna double check and triple check just to be sure, because you care that much.
Yeah.
I think that Kevin Feige thought the Blade was gonna be a cheap date, and then when Mahershala knocked on that door and says, "I'm ready to go," and he couldn't turn down that date, and now he don't want to pay that money. Can't afford that meal now. And it's interesting. Like I said, we'll see. Do I think he's a great actor? I do. Do I think that Marvel at this time is offering the type of Blade movie that he would like to do? I don't think so. That was never their plan. And it's kind of like, well, you got steak dreams, but you're gonna get a burger. I don't know if I think that's gonna be the rub. Because he's going to constantly want more, and they're going to constantly try to give him some basic stuff. On top of that's not even deciding even the angle to go with the character. Like, they had 3 years, man. 3 years for a story. 3 years.
The pandemic shut some things down, but you're right.
3 years to write. I ain't say shoot anything. You could write during the pandemic. You have time to write. That's why I started a podcast, because of the pandemic. I got a lot done. I didn't write no script, but I've done. Yeah. I've been busy, so we'll see. But I will say I'm not surprised. Like I said, even when he was announced, I knew it was going to be something. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know it was going to be all this, and we still don't know everything. But from the angle of the character and his portrayal of the character and Marvel, and then their kind of cookie cutter situation of it all fitting together, and you're layering all this kind of stuff, and you want to please everybody, and you got to bring the kids and all the other kind of stuff. All that stuff is going to be crazy. It's going to be interesting, like I said, and we'll see. Now, this should be rated R, this new Deadpool movie with Wolverine in it. This should be rated R, but we'll see if that's going to get clipped. We'll see how that goes.
I don't think you can mess with Deadpool. I think it has to be rated R.
They had a PG-13 version that they had in the theaters. I went to go check it out, and I don't know if it was just funny to me because I knew what the original one was, or it was just witty as a PG-13. I can't tell.
Yeah.
But I would hate for that to be the thing, that version to be the actual thing that you have to be stuck with.
If you're going to bring Wolverine into the storyline, I want it rated R based off of action. I don't want it. I mean, if you want to get, I believe that Ryan Reynolds can hold his own in a PG-13 script. He does not need to be vulgar. I honestly believe that about, because I watched that version too.
It's pretty good.
And I was like, yeah, this isn't bad. So I'm never mad at that. But Deadpool, like even reading the comics, Deadpool is not really that raunchy. I mean, it's funny, it's corny sometimes, but it's not based off of needing to be raunchy.
Right.
And so I think the big thing is I don't ever want to see Wolverine in a situation where he's just showing up to have dialogue. You know, like I want him in some action.
Well, you know, every presentation of Wolverine in a movie has been PG-13 except for Logan, which was the last one. But all those other versions of Wolverine and all those other movies, Ryan Singer movies and all that stuff, it was always PG-13. So we never really seen him let loose. And if he did, it's on these guys in the dark and you couldn't tell, or some robots or something. It was never
that's true.
Or blood and stuff like that. It never really was that, you know. Like I said, Logan was the one where he actually was lopping off body parts and stuff. I loved it. But yeah, it would deserve a movie that's gonna be no holds barred. Especially a miracle of having Hugh Jackman come back for that character one more time, especially with Deadpool. If Disney's smart, they just let them do what they want to do and, you know, sort it out afterwards.
They definitely don't need, when it comes to just the whole idea that I'm excited that we got mutants coming in, all these things, they really can't go wrong. The future is theirs. Even with this Blade project, the future is theirs. If Blade's not going to be successful, it's not going to be any sweat off our back. The original Blade fans, I always have the original Blade movies.
Right.
We can't undo those. It won't matter. Just like if they make a new Fantastic Four, it's going to erase the old Fantastic Four because you really can't do worse.
That's true. That's sad, but true.
Like, I think this is really just a matter of, and I know firsthand from working with a friend of mine who currently has a comic book in production with a production deal, and I know listening and seeing what what they're going through with their scripts and everything, this is common. Like, this is very common to just be like, okay, we got the director, and the director doesn't, and the director is like, oh, okay, oh, now we got a script, but now we need a new director, and okay, now, and nothing ever happens. One of the things that's going on right now that I'm really proud of, Trill League, 50 Cent, option Trill League, independent comic book, digital comic book, and Anthony Piper put it out. And where everyone was excited, and then 50 Cent's production company did a deal with Quibi because they were offering the most money at the time.
Yeah.
And it folded after like a month or two of, and so that put everything, on hold. And now just this week, they just announced deals back on, they found a new home for it. And so it's like, okay, and it's a new writer. Last time they had scripts and everything already written, was ready to go into animation and getting the voiceover actors and everything. Now it's a whole new project. And now it's a new writing process all over again, which is an exciting thing when you want to see, something good like this put out. But stuff like this takes a long time. That first Blade movie probably was a 3 or 4 or 5 year process. We just didn't know that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully, like, I'm with you, man. Like, it's not gonna be Blade 2, but it's gonna be better than Blade 3. No matter what they do, man, it's gotta be better than Blade 3. It's got to.
Yeah.
It's got to. It's nothing. I'm gonna go and watch it. I'm gonna finish it. When you asked me to do this, I said I need to go finish this. I know what I'm talking about, and I didn't. I went through my Spotify and was like, I was discovering. I was like, what's this the Russell kid everybody talking about? And I just went trying to discover. But I did not finish watching Blade 3. But I will.
And we'll talk about it when you get done. Like I said, we could.
Yeah,
that'll be a fun little conversation for sure.
Yeah, watch The Woman King. I'm interested in hearing what you're gonna say to your friends about it.
Okay. Yeah, it's my next movie I'm gonna go see. So, all right, Drew, man, it was great catching up with you. Where can the folks hear more about you, find out more about you and your going ons?
You know what? Nowhere, man. I'm gonna be honest. No, no. You know what? Be looking out for.
You always doing something, man. You always got something up your sleeve. What you working on? What's going on? What you got?
I work behind the scenes with a lot of things. I am working with the Alice Street documentary, which has been out for a couple of years now. It's about the gentrification of Oakland, of downtown Oakland. And so it's an interesting film. Definitely, if it's screening near you, go out and see it. And but I'm going to be working on doing some podcast work around that. If you know, in the past I've worked on post-production work on a film about gentrification, and so this is just another film about gentrification. And so I was asked to come in and help with that. Also going to be picking up doing some work with an immigration project coming out real soon. So next time I'm on, maybe I can give you a link to a few of the episodes. Yeah, man, that's the latest and greatest of what's going on around my way.
I love it, man. I love it. All right. So that was Jay and True. Until next time, peace. Thanks for listening, and please like and subscribe. Be sure to check out past and future episodes of this show, along with my other shows entitled The Movie Bench Quarterbacking Podcast and The J and Podcast, available now on all streaming platforms. Until next time, peace.